Evening folks, how are we? Trust you're all good. I'm well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm okay. Bit of a change in the weather down here. It's raining, and this will be much relief to many of the barley farmers and farmers in general. They will be happy. Well, as happy as farmers ever really get. They never really get all that happy, to be honest. Unless they're listening to Nathan Carter. And then they're cock a hoop. They love it. I love a bit of Nathan Carter, so they do. If you don't know who Nathan Carter is, go on, have a look, and he will, and you'll find out all about him and listen to him singing. Good wee singer he is. Great wee man. Yeah. So I hope everything's well with you. We're sort of look as if we're coming out of the COVID slowly but surely. It's getting to the point where we're actually getting to do some normal stuff again, which it would be nice if that continues. So yeah, Belfast Whiskey Week's just over. Didn't get to do as many tastings and stuff as I would like. Just actually started back to work, so I'm guiding people about round and doing stuff, and so I'm kind of busy. So I didn't really have much time. So I have a few tasting packs that I didn't get to watch the tastings with. So they're still sitting here, and I'll have a rip at them and go through them and see what I think of them over the next week or two. Yeah, I did do one, and I'll probably make a standalone video of it. And if you've been watching the Saturday shows, I think you know which one I'm going to be talking about, because it was probably the best tasting I've ever been at. Just unbelievably good, really good, and felt important, which is even more so. But yeah, if you've watched the Saturday show with me and Justin, Irish Whiskey Review, 10 PM Saturday nights, you'll know which one I'm going to be talking about. But we'll save that for another time. He's up with the black stuff. Excellent stuff it is too. Now, tonight's review. Bushmills American Oak Cask Finish. Bourbon finish. Yeah. Bushmills single malt finished in hand selected double-charred American oak barrels and blended with smooth triple distilled Irish grain whiskey for fresh wood and vanilla flavours. Signed by Helen Mulholland. She's putting her name to these now. Yeah. Bushmills, right? Love Bushmills. Just up the road. Always love Bushmills. Black Bush, hands down, best everyday whiskey you can get. Just is. The quality of it's fantastic. I've been a little bit critical of them in the past because they kind of missed the boat a little bit, doing what other companies were doing. Other companies were releasing these premium, ultra premium bottles, and then over the last year, Bushmills released the Causeway Collection. So they finally met people's collectors and enthusiasts' demand and released ultra premium stuff, and some really good. I'm a little disappointed that they released it in different countries because it's a collection and it kind of makes it hard to collect. But maybe that's a better thing. Collectors like the chase. They don't. If you make it too easy for them, then it's not really as collectible as they want. You know, it's whenever they chase down the rare bottle from Portugal that they couldn't get, or you know, there's a Chinese bottle that lots of people will go mad to try and get their hands on. So yeah, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I collect little bits and pieces. I've a reasonably decent collection, nothing particularly, but I've some bottles that probably are never going to be worth very much, but I still like to have them, you know. Yeah, but I'm probably a little bit more impressed with this actually, in the fact that they've brought out the rum cask, which we reviewed, and now this American Oak Cask in re-level. They're blend finished in new styles of finishing that are affordable, that people will actually go and buy, that you can, if normally you drink a Jameson or you normally drink a Johnny Walker or whatever, you can then say, I'll throw an extra couple of quid on it, try this other thing. It's not going to break the bank at £30, and you might find that this is something you really like. I get sent this as a press release bottle, okay, just so you know, and I gave it to Justin. This is a week. As you can tell, Justin really likes this. He really likes this. So I had to threaten him almost with physical violence to keep me some so I can try it. I'm only joking. But I know what he's like. He could very easily have it knocked in him and then have to go and try and buy a bottle. But I want to get this out this week because I know it's just been launched. Now, in the press pack, they send you out a little bit of the blurb to tell you what it is. And the lovely little Lauren has sent this out. And it just says on it that it's American Oak Cask Finish, inspired by partnerships spanning decades between Bushmills and legendary barrel makers Kelvin Cooperage. The American Oak Cask Finish celebrates the amalgamation of two of the world's great whiskey making capitals, Bushmills and Louisville, Kentucky, which are twin towns. Louisville's a city, isn't it? Louisville? Yeah, it's a city. So it would be, but they are partnered, and it's to do with the whiskey. So they are sending out a little press pack, and they sent out this. So this is actually, it says on it that this is from the stave it was aged in. This is not a single cask, okay? This is a blend. It was aged in lots and lots of barrels, lots and lots and lots of staves. So what it is, it's essentially just a little bit of wood from one of the barrels, basically to show you the level of char, okay? Now, this is not a deep char. Sometimes you get what you call that sort of alligator skin, and it's much deeper than this. But it's recharred, so it's been used for bourbon, and then recharred. And you can actually pull it off and you can still see a little bit of soot coming off from the thing. Now, charring is originally it's thought, because there was no plastic back in the day, that wooden casks possibly held fish and this kind of thing. They were used for transporting everything. So what they did was they recharred it, they burned the inside of the casks to get rid of any flavours or residual taints that were on the wood. And what they found was, when they filled it with spirit, with whiskey, that the charring actually improved the flavour. It sweetened it, filtered it, because remember, activated charcoal is what you use to filter a lot of things. So it was taking out certain impurities and providing quicker aging and cleaner aging. Probably a better way of putting it. So that's what they found. Now, bourbon barrels are now essentially the staple of, they're the backbone of all Scotch and Irish whiskey and other whiskey industries. Because in bourbon you can only use them once. I think over a period of time, the price of them are going to start going up because there's so many more American distilleries that are not making bourbon, they're making single malts and blends and this kind of thing. And weird and wonderful things, because I mean, America's essentially back to being the Wild West, pretty much the same as all these new nations that are making whiskey. They don't have the limitations that certainly Irish and Scotch have put on them. And Scotland's put some heavy restrictions on themselves. And they're in for a lot of competition in the near future. Don't get me wrong, they're miles ahead of most other places. Miles ahead of everywhere, really, for making single malt. But they do have a lot of competition coming. And this is some of the stuff that's going to start competing with them. Your single cask, high-end, 240 bottles, at £150 a bottle, ain't going to harm the Scottish market in any way. Never going to. But what's going to start harming the Scottish market in a few years' time is the likes of this. Because this is affordable. It tastes a bit different. It's a blend. Everyone can buy this, so it's going to be readily available. So this is what's going to hurt the Scottish market more than anything else. And in the States, you could certainly see where they could start to suffer. but it's a long way off. But the bourbon barrels, my point being that the bourbon barrels will be bought over in America by American distilleries who just aren't making bourbon. So, yeah, there's lots of challenges ahead for everybody. But Bushmills are heading down the right path with this, I think. So this is Bourbon Cask Finish. As it says, it's smooth triple distilled grain whiskey for fresh wood and vanilla flavours. Quintessential square Bushmills bottle, traditional, with the printed glass on it, so 1608. So remember guys, this is a £30 bottle. This is not your high-end 150 bottled at 48.5% or whatever it's going to be. This is your standalone bottle. This is your entry-level bottle. So what's it like? Justin loves this, by the way. Okay, he loves it. He thinks it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He made the cocktails, because he sent me a wee cocktail recipes. So a highball and an old fashioned, and Justin made them up. And he loved them. Justin is never happier than when he's got a cocktail in his hand. So, on the nose, it's very fresh, very fresh. It's not as bourbony. It's not as honeyed as possibly I thought it was going to be. There's honey there. There's a sweetness. There's little bits of vanilla, but it's not a massive nose on it. There's a fairly nice little oak, honey, vanilla, what you would expect. Nothing that's too dominant. The oak is, it's not fresh oak, it's not green oak, it's not new. It has that, what you would expect, a sort of rich, used oak, honeyed oak, you know. This is not bang in your face. It's nice, it's subtle, very sippable from the scent, from the nose. Quite sweet. Mouthfeel's quite thin, okay, which obviously the grain. There's a floral element to it that you would never get in a bourbon, okay? You just wouldn't get it because it's taking on that rich honey notes. This is sweet, and it's designed to appeal to a modern palate. Say the mouthfeel's quite thin, so it's not as high, certainly, in the malt content as you would get in a black bush. It's nowhere near that. So it's probably 25-30% malt, and the rest made up with the grain. On the palate, again, you're getting little bits of the vanilla. It's quite sweet. Some green apple, that kind of fruit, green fruit coming from the grain whiskey. The sweetness is a little sweet for me, if I'm honest. It comes from that appeal to the newer generation, to that new sort of palate that we've moved to be conditioned that we prefer things sweeter. I tend not to have a sweet tooth, so I don't tend to have that. So I can see why Justin likes this. There's a little bit of heat, which is nice, actually. The heat that's in it, some people will say, oh, it's not that smooth. But I'm going to do a talk some night on the show about smoothness, because it's a term I very seldom ever use. They'll say, oh, it's got a bit of burn. And they think, and it's coming from the alcohol. It's actually, it's because the mouthfeel isn't as syrupy as some other spirits that you might get, and that's where people sometimes get confused. So smoothness is not a term that I really like. The there's a nice heat to the finish. Not dominated by a huge amount of flavour, if I'm honest. It's syrupy, with sweetness coming through. Vanilla, wood. It's basically the same. It's doing exactly what it says on the bottle. It's got that bourbon elements, and it's the flavours that you expect. If I'm honest, the Bushmill character is a little bit hidden. So, where you're normally used to that Bushmills, that sort of shortbready, toasted, baked product, flavours from Bushmills, it's kind of masked a little bit. But all in all, it's good because it's an entry level. It tastes different than the rest of their range. I'm not going to give it a huge mark, if I'm honest, because it's not going to be my favourite in the Bushmills range. But what it is, it's appealing to a certain demographic. It's much better than Red Bush, much better than that. So if you're going to buy, if this is a toss up between Red Bush and this, buy this. It's better, much better. Yeah, but nothing wrong with it. I would give it 5 out of 10 if I'm honest. It's not being really disparaging about it, but it's not ticking all the boxes for me because it's sweet. Justin would be giving this 8.5, 9 out of 10. That's because he loves it, as you can tell. On the finish, again, not a bit of a chocolatey note. Actually, more like a coffee note. Actually, just there at the very very tail end. Yeah. If you see it on the shelf, give it a whirl because it's something different. If you don't particularly like it, listen, there's easy ways around this. Go and buy a tin of Coke or go and buy soda water or something and mix it down, have a drink with it and do such and such. The point of these bottles is you try them. If you don't like them, you don't buy them again. If you do like them, all the better. You've discovered something new. So that's really the way around that. So, yeah. So, stay safe, take care, and I shall speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.